My first ever job was a paperboy. From when I was 13 to 15, every single Thursday I delivered 149 papers to 149 houses. And I was earning between £6 a week to £12 a week, depending on how many extra leaflets I had to put in the newspaper so they also could be delivered. And when I was 16, I got my first proper job working for a place called Dunelm, and I was there for 9 years. And I started working there earning £4.21 an hour. And over the years I kind of went through all the departments. I started on the tills and I moved to the warehouse, then I ended up in the cushion department and then the bathroom department, then I ended up on curtains and fabrics, and basically by the end of the 9 years I was like an expert in nearly all of the departments. It was a great 9 years, and I'm so thankful to Dunelm for hiring me back then, and I'm so thankful for all the friendships I made as well, and I learned so much about myself. I learned to have confidence in myself. I learned how to deal with awkward customers, angry customers, frustrated customers, upset customers. I learned how to deal with all different kinds of managers, good managers, bad managers. It was an amazing 9 years. And working is a good thing. Earning money is a good thing. So, if you could have any job when you're 16 or in the future, what would it be? We're going to read Matthew 20, 1 to 16. For the kingdom of heaven is like the landowner who went out early one morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay the normal daily wage and sent them out to work. At 9 o'clock in the morning he was passing through the marketplace and saw some people standing around doing nothing. So he hired them, telling them he would pay them whatever was right at the end of the day. So they went to work in the vineyard. At noon and again at 3 o'clock he did the same thing. At 5 o'clock that afternoon he was in town again and saw more people standing around. He asked them, "Why haven't you been working?" They replied, "Because no one has hired us." The landowner told them, "Then go and join my other workers in my vineyard." That evening he told the foreman to call the workers in and pay them, beginning with the last workers first. When those hired at 5 o'clock were paid, each received a full day's wage. When those hired first came to get their pay, they assumed they would receive more, but they too were paid a day's wage. When they received their pay, they protested to the owner. "Those people worked 1 hour, and yet you've paid them just the same amount as us, and we've been working in the scorching heat all day." He answered one of them, "Friend, I haven't been unfair. Didn't you agree to work all day for the usual wage? Take your money and go. I wanted to pay this last worker the same as you. Is it against the law for me to do what I want with my money? Should you be jealous because I am kind to others? So those who are last now will be first then, and those who are first will be last." So the landowner has a vineyard that needs working. He goes out to the marketplace. At 9 a.m. he sees some workers and he says to them, "Who are you working for?" And they say, "No one." He says, "Well, go and work for me." At 12 p.m. he says to the workers in the marketplace again, "Who are you working for?" And they say, "No one." So he says, "Go and work for me." He does the same at 3. He goes into the marketplace, he sees people standing around, and he says, "Who are you working for?" And they say, "No one." He says, "Well, then go and work for me." At 5 p.m. he says, "Hey, who are you working for?" And they say, "No one." He says, "Then go and work for me." And at the end of the day, they gather everyone around to give them their day's wage. The 9 a.m. workers are like, "Whew, that was a hard day's work. I'm glad I'm getting this amount of money." And the 12 p.m. workers are like, "Oh, this is kind of generous of the guy." And the 3 p.m. workers are like, "Whoa, this is a lot of money for like the amount of work I've done." And then the 5 p.m. workers are like, "Damn, this is a lot of money. I am working for this guy again because he is super generous." But the 9 a.m. workers are like, "Are you serious? Are you really going to pay those people the same amount as us? We have been working all day in your vineyard under the scorching heat, and you are going to pay them the same amount as us. That is just unfair." But the boss says, "Are you really going to get angry and worked up that I am being generous? Did you not agree to work for that amount of money? And as the boss, can I not pay who I want to pay? Can I not give to who I want to give?" All these workers were going to go earn nothing at 8:45 a.m. But along comes the owner, and no matter how many hours they have worked, they all received a day's wage. You see, the owner would have known that a 1 hour pay would not have been enough for someone to provide for their family. So he was generous and made sure they could all provide for their family. See, this boss is not unfair. Is it unfair that he wants to make sure someone can provide for their family? This boss is not harsh. Can the boss not bless who he wants to bless? The boss is overwhelmingly generous. And this story reveals a challenge we all face as humans. It reveals a struggle that we all have inside of us. And that struggle and challenge is this: we feel we have to do good to earn a reward. It is not in our nature to expect gifts or reward just because, and therefore we struggle when generosity is shown to others because we feel like it's unfair. But with all of Jesus' stories, he wants to let you know what the upside down kingdom is like. And here he tells you, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Think Peter and John. When Jesus has risen from the tomb and Mary Magdalene comes back and tells them, Jesus is not there. And Peter and John kind of dismayed, I don't really believe it. So they have this running race to the tomb. And John says in his Gospels that he was the fastest disciple and he got there first. But it was Peter that had the courage to step into the tomb first, to see that Jesus had risen from the grave. This is Jesus' upside down kingdom. People who we expect not to receive generosity and blessing, receive it. In this story, there are multiple layers of what represents what. But let's start with the landowner and the workers. Jesus is the landowner and you are the worker. So if you struggle with others receiving generosity, and if you're a follower of Jesus, then you better get your head around generosity, because Jesus is a just because kind of guy. Jesus is an overwhelmingly generous God. It is in his nature to give out rather than to take in. And being followers of Jesus, you all receive the benefit from his generosity in all different kinds of ways. But the ultimate way he was generous to us was giving himself up for you and me, and for all those that want to accept his free gift of salvation. You see, it doesn't matter when you accept Jesus into your life. It doesn't matter if you accepted him when you was 8 at a kids camp. It doesn't matter if you accepted the gift of salvation at a youth camp. It doesn't matter if you accept it at uni or when you're a middle-aged adult. It doesn't matter if you accept the gift of salvation, if you're knocking on death's door. The blessing, the generosity, the reward is all the same. Eternal life with Jesus. Jesus has work to be done. And he doesn't need you or me to help him, but he does want me and you to be involved. He delights in seeing me and you working for him. Imagine it like this. Your parent needs to build a bonfire. They need to burn some wood. They need to burn some gardening stuff. And you want to be involved. And they delight that you want to be involved with them. They delight that they get to spend time with you building this bonfire. But ultimately they know it's not safe. They know that you need help. So you start building a little bonfire. You start with the kindling, and then you strike a match, and you put the match in, and suddenly the little embers, suddenly the wood starts burning, and suddenly you need to start blowing air onto it in order to give it more oxygen, in order for it to burn brighter. But ultimately, you're a kid, and as you blow, you basically dribble and spit all over this fire, and you begin to put the fire out. But suddenly, as you keep blowing, as you keep dribbling and spitting, the fire erupts. There is enough oxygen and the bonfire is ablaze. And you are chuffed and you are pleased by what you've accomplished. But ultimately, what you didn't know was your parent behind you gently blowing the oxygen that was required to set that bonfire alight. And that's what it's like with me and you and Jesus. Jesus doesn't need us to do his stuff. In fact, he could probably do it a lot quicker without us. But he delights and wants me and you to be involved. He knows that we're going to mess up. He knows we're going to spit and splatter and spray all our dribble over all his kind of work. But he's the one that is gently blowing his air and making things new. Jesus has work to be done here on earth. And he wants you and me to be involved. We all have a part to play. He delights in others in being involved in his work. It means he can be super generous. You may have been going to church all your life, been a Christian for a few years or a long time. You don't deserve any more than the person that starts working for Jesus 1 hour before they die. Because ultimately, me and you, we don't deserve nothing. God owes us nothing. God is in debt to no one. Me and you, we don't even deserve to work for Jesus, but yet he still wants you and me to be involved. He still wants to continue to shower you and me with generosity. Generosity that we can't even get our heads around, and generosity that we probably don't even recognize is generosity from him. This is the God that you can work for. The one who wants you to be involved, the one who is more interested in giving out than taking in, the one who is overwhelmingly generous, the one who is generous just because. No ifs, no buts, just because he can and just because he wants to. So, who do you work for? Because we all work for someone. You either work for Jesus or you don't. It's your choice.